Welcome to this week's GCN Tech Clinic. This is where we pick out the questions you've been submitting in the comment section down below. Then we try and answer them as best we can. We've got a special guest on with us today, Mark Threlfall from GCN. Right, without further ado, our first question is from Ben Barham, and they say, I've got a Canyon Grail gravel bike with 650B wheels, 35mm tyres. Want some wheels for riding on the road to run with 28mm tyres. What's our recommendation between using road bike wheels, which is 700C, or do they go and buy some 650B wheels? What do you reckon?
I would probably always suggest 700C, just generally faster on the road. Yeah,
I think you're going to have more tyre options as well in that sort of wheel size. What you do need to account for is to make sure you have enough clearance if your bike's designed for that 650B wheel. But I think you should be okay if you're using a smaller tyre.
Yeah, because if it was a gravel bike, it's going to have that clearance anyway, so you should be fine.
Oh, easy starts this week,
Yeah, off we go then. Next one from Fleur Dispens.
Great pronunciation. Probably better than me.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to be better about routinely checking things on my bike. What do you think is a good interval to periodically check the disc brake pads and rotors on my bike? I average 40 to 50 miles a week in all weather conditions, yay commuting, and have a system weight of 80 kilograms. Brakes are avid mechanicals.
Right, first things, good on you for trying to get better at checking your bike.
A lot of people don't do that, yeah.
So in terms of checking your brake pads, I would say you want to give them a proper check every couple of months or so. Like take the wheel out, have a good look at the brake pad. But normally, I guess when you're just washing your bike, you have a quick glance through at the caliper.
Yeah, that's what I generally do. Obviously, as you said, you're doing it in all weather conditions. So do, I guess, take that into account in the less ideal times of the year where it's windy, wet, grit on the road. Then do check it a bit more regularly, and also if you're going up and down hills regularly as well. Probably want to.
Good advice. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thanks.
Next question is from Georges. They say, I'm planning on riding the Tour de Stations this summer, and I was wondering if Ollie, specifically Ollie, it says, could tell me whether it would be worth using an Ultegra 105 11 to 30 4-tooth cassette on a Dura Ace R9100 rear derailleur, which is normally limited to a 30-tooth maximum sprocket. They're running 50-34 chain rings. They're wondering if their shifting is going to be compromised. They're not sure what to do. What advice can we give them, basically?
Well, yeah, as you've said, the Dura Ace R9100 is like a slightly shorter cage. And as I've said, it should be limited to 11 to 30. But obviously, manufacturers always are on the side of caution. So I'd say you probably could get away with 1132. 1134 might be pushing it. But I reckon give it a go and just try it without obviously putting force through the bike, just in the bike stand or whatever. Yeah. And just try running it just easily, just check whether it works.
The main thing for me is to make sure you've got the chain long enough.
Yeah.
By increasing the cassette size, you're going to have to use a longer chain. And I think that's where most people might run into issues if they've got their chain a little bit too short. Now, I guess we could just check in with Ollie, see what he has to say about this, see if he agrees.
Dr. Ollie Bridgewood.
Yeah. Let's just ring it. Yeah, Ollie, guys just asking about the Dura Ace mech. You agree 34 might be okay? Yeah, he agrees with us.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Perfect.
Right, next question in is from Shotope RR. They say, hi, Manon and gals. Oh. Interesting. What about adding a second pair of brake levers to the time trial bars on the time trial bike and routing each of the brake hoses together using a Y splitter? Would this add braking capabilities to the aero position and increase in safety? They said, please try this on Ollie's time trial bike. I'm not sure about this.
First off, it's a no.
Yeah.
But should we try it on Ollie's Ordo? Yes.
No, I'm joking. No. I don't think this is a great idea. I get the theory behind this. Add an extra set of brake levers. It seems like you just join the hoses together and it should all work. But the hydraulic system isn't designed to work like that. So when the brake is at rest, the system is open up to the reservoir. So if you apply pressure in another part of the system, that's going to work its way up to that reservoir, which isn't designed to contain such sort of pressure. And then you could end up with failing brakes, which, let's face it,
no like Mario Karts and like fluid just spraying out the front of your bike.
You don't want that. Any suggestions that you can offer?
Well, there is something called the Tech aerobars.
I think I might have heard of this.
Yeah, slightly obscure, but they basically, the base bar then becomes the aerobar. So you essentially will have the brake levers in front of you, and I assume you can sort of feather them as you're...
That's quite a good idea.
Yeah, so it means as you're in the aerobars, there is no base bar, so it's going to be more aero.
And you've got brakes in that aero position, which is good for safety.
Yeah.
We did touch on that subject a few weeks weeks back. So don't try and add a second set of levers for fun.
No.
Don't think it's a good idea.
Next question from Brent Simon Bacoy. Hi team, can a mountain bike set up for road with slick tyre, carbon rigid fork, 46 tooth chainring and aerobars sustain the pace of a road bike?
That's a good question. Now, there are loads of different variations and things to take into account here, but based on just that information and a few assumptions, I guess, I think that a mountain bike with aerobars could be fairly close to the speed of your normal road bike. Because the reason behind this is I think your body position accounts for most of the aerodynamic drag. You kind of agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have ridden on the back of groups before on a mountain bike with slick tyres, and it's okay. And I imagine if you were out on your own with aerobars on, getting yourself low, reducing that CDA, then definitely. Maybe there's a video in this.
Maybe there is a video in this. I think the answer is it's not going to be as fast. It's certainly not going to be faster, but comparable, I think it's fair to say.
Definitely.
Right, next question is from Renaissance WW. They say, I often find the recommended pressure on the tyre is different to that is what is listed on the wheel. Their time trial head carbon wheels state an example pressure of 70 psi, but their Pirelli tyres, following their handy chart, state 90 psi based on their weight. So who do they follow?
Well, I would suggest starting off by going with that recommended tyre pressure, and then it's sort of a case of trial and error, really. Yeah,
I agree with that. These are talking about recommended pressures rather than maximum pressures.
Yeah.
So if your wheels say they have a maximum pressure of say 72 psi, like the hookless system tends to be, you need to make sure you don't exceed any maximum pressures. But the recommended pressure, like say, trial and error, start off with what the tyre says and work from there. Nice.
Final question from Felipe Ramirez, and they've said, how do you remove a tubeless tyre when it's stuck to a carbon wheel because of the sealant?
Oh, that's tricky. I've not actually come across a tyre that's stuck on in that situation. Now, tubeless tyres are pretty tricky to remove. By nature, the system works by forcing the bead of the tyre up onto the shoulder of the rim so that it is held securely in place. And it can be pretty tricky to push off. But normally, with all of the tyre deflated or the air out, you can just get two thumbs and really force one section of the tyre bead into that central wheel well where it's a little bit lower, and then you can work the rest of it round. If you're struggling, I think you could probably try and use a nylon tyre lever to try and get between the tyre and the bead of the rim, but I wouldn't use a metal one because you run damaging it all.
Do you think you can use some of the sealant remover, like mock-off
You could probably try that, but I
don't think you need it. I think you should be able to do this, or just go to the gym.
Go to the gym, get some bigger thumb muscles.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, like you. But I'm inclined to say that I don't think it's the sealant that's holding it in place. I think it's that sort of mechanical grip of the tyre being stretched over onto the shoulder. I've not found any that I can't remove with my thumbs yet. So I think a bit of trial and error. And like with anything to do with your bike, practice makes perfect and you get there in the end.
Agreed.
Right, that's the end of this week's Tech Clinic. Hope you found it helpful, and it's been nice to have Mark on, sharing a slightly different opinion from the world of triathlon. Thanks for joining us, and if we didn't get to your questions, sorry, we'll try and get some next week. See you later.